Um, After the last video, I know it the feedback I received and my impression of it as well was that it was a bit disjointed. Um, Son of a diddly. Essentially, what I'm trying to communicate here is the groups that I mentioned, these patriots, as they call themselves, along with pee pee poo 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 pee 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 poo poo poo. Okay, that's better, I think. Well, had to check for pops. You know how when Scientology first showed up on the scene, rather in the pop culture and the media, you know how it's really fucking crazy? It leverages the idea that it's a religion, or that it's a church, and that it's a lifestyle choice, and therefore is immune. That's what's happening with these patriot groups. They're adopting this American hoorah, we're patriots. And what they're doing is leveraging these ideals that have existed in innocence prior to, well, given anybody's interpretation of those concepts at any given time, it could be very different. But generally speaking, the ideas of being a patriot in the last amount of time that I can remember hasn't really been seen as a negative thing. And if you did say it was negative, then you were the bad guy. These groups are adopting the face masks of concepts which are inherently American, right? They're using these to lay cover for what their objectives really are. And I don't know, I couldn't list or quantify exactly what they are. I'll lay out my thought patterns and the things that I come across and explain how they make connections. And if you can sort of paint the same picture I am or whatever. And maybe you don't. Maybe you think something completely different. Maybe you think I'm an idiot. That's fair. A lot of people think I'm an idiot. We'll see how you feel about it afterwards. With any good religion, with any good political movement that's disingenuous, you've got agents that, what are they called? The guys that go places that they are not invited and teach indigenous people to worship their gods instead. Missionaries are required sort of elements for any one of these movements at any time. If it's disingenuous, you need somebody that is out front, that is able to recruit people. Even the army has recruiters that lie. Well, maybe if they're not lies, they're disingenuous as fuck. This was exemplified pretty good in the recent scandal with the army, the military's Twitch chats. They had giveaways for Xbox Elite 2 controllers, which, you know, whatever. And if you click the link for the giveaway, it just took you to the little thing you fill out your information. But it's for the army. Those faces, those people, those emissaries or ambassadors, that's their job. And they're not assigned this job. I think it's a happenstance. It's not like they're having a meeting and one person is designated as the covert recruiter. It's just that there's someone who is capable of both believing enough of something like the QAnon conspiracy while also maintaining a normal life. They tend to slot into the leadership roles of these movements. They will even deny the crazier aspects of the stuff, or they just don't say anything about it. And they do, as I mentioned in the previous video, these performative acts of, you put your foot down and there's no racism in here. There's another class of them that they may not even realize that they've gone down into the Q hole. The things that they're touching on, or the things that they're starting to believe, something that has caught their attention online, may be something like a cult. It's like the bait, you know? The people that are just sort of getting into that aspect of it, they're also function as ambassadors sometimes. They've got blinders from the real thing, but they're sharing information on Facebook. That sort of just prefaces exactly what I'm going to get into with some of these comments. Afternoon, Patriots. I hope your Sunday is well. We had 2 events yesterday that TXPP attended, Houston and Weatherford. Both events fizzled out for lack of protesters. There were protesters, but only a handful at each. This is what we want. Well, at least they're not trying to hide it anymore. We want them to know that patriots across Texas will not allow the destruction of our towns and cities. We will not be destroyed. We have a voice, just as they, and we will use it. Thank you to everyone who attended, no matter what group you stood with. Even though the events were a bust, the members who represented TXPP made an impact with local law enforcement. They know us, appreciate us, and welcomed us. Amazing job, you guys. And that brings me to the topic of today. I've spent a little time on our page this morning, and for the most part, I feel we are all here for the right reasons. Keep that in mind. Keep that we are all here for the right reasons. Jot that one down on your notepad that I know you have in your breast pocket, you fucking nerd. To support our state, our law enforcement, our laws, our constitution, our citizens, and our voices. However, I am seeing a few that still cling to racism or racist feelings. I've seen posts or comments directed at white people. I've seen remarks about black people or those people. I must address these issues. TXPP does not represent discrimination, period. We the people encompasses all of us. It doesn't matter your education, skin color, religion, political ideologies, or any other damned thing. TXPP is gathering to protect our values, its citizens, our histories, and our rights. Our history is a mess of good, bad, and ugly. We must keep that history intact, so we learn from it, so we remember what it came before us. We remember the pride and love, we remember the agony and horrors, so that we know where, as a nation, we came from, and can keep moving forward, correcting ourselves and standing strong in who we are now. We gather in defense of socialism, communism, and any organization that seeks to destroy us as a unified people. We stand in defense of. I think what she means is we gather to defend against, not in defense of. It is okay to be upset over the things that happened in our country. We all are, or we wouldn't be here. But remember, white people are not the only people upset. Black people are not the only ones joining BLM and Antifa. Open your eyes, stop marginalizing a race of people. We all bleed red, we all die, we all breathe the same air. We are all human, be a good human, be the change. And then, WWG1WGA. And if you're not familiar, that's a fucking QAnon hashtag. Something about where we go one, we go all. One of the platitudes from this group, QAnon, that doesn't fucking mean anything. I wish that I could leverage the sort of tactics that QAnon has done and the mental, like, sticky hands that they participate in that is able to snag so many fucking people with nothing. I would use it for social media. I would write a book on how to use it for social media and sell that book for a lot of fucking money. This whole statement, and I read it first because it does relate to some of the other ones, and it was the most recent post. You see how she said that political ideologies didn't matter, and then our history is a mess of good, bad, and ugly, and we must protect it. Herein, we hit the delta of where a group like this meets its first impasse, and this is where fractures form. This type of bullshit infighting is what always chips away at the already delicate thread that binds all of these people in these groups. A distaste for another group of people. It's like, we're not racist. We're just here against BLM and Antifa. Imagine, like, never using BLM without Antifa, like it being a person who only types the two together in a statement where you say something about people not being racist. Like, waiting for the laugh track over here. This is where it happens. From all of my knowledge of groups like this, hate groups, which is what this is what I consider it. I don't give a shit about what these mission statements that the leaders keep putting out. You don't act like police without any of that being involved. Wake up, white people. In case you haven't noticed, we are being turned into the new slave class of the Democrats. We are being dehumanized as we're black, the grammar fucks me up so bad. And a lot of them scream into their cell phone while they're like riding on their truck. Use the text to speech or speech to text. Are being turned into the new slave class of the Democrats. We are being dehumanized as we're black Americans during the Civil War era. The Civil War era. So, just a history lesson for this definitely not racist guy in this definitely not racist group. Slavery definitely lasted longer than the Civil War. Black Americans have definitely been dehumanized for longer than the amount of time the Civil War took place. And also, like, now. It's happening now. It's happening. It never stopped. So, notice the amount of self-hating white folk rioting. That's the desired endgame for the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, and he capitalizes it, have always been about slavery, be it through social welfare or enslavement. We are merely their next target. I can't stress enough how insane it is, whether it's this case or another case. But if you have an opinion, if you have a worldview, just do yourself and everyone who has to listen to your stupid bullshit a favor and examine the alternative that your opinion implies. This opinion or this worldview that the Democrats or like the left is somehow brainwashing just everyone. You owe it to anybody with whom you share your opinion to double check your shit. And if your opinion comes from a perspective that you have a secret that billions of other people don't, think about where you got that secret. Just challenge it. Just challenge it. Whatever it is, you owe everybody around you that. You owe it to yourself. It's maddening to me that you can see a conspiracy in something like this and just decide that it's so true without even looking at what else would have to be true for it to be true. The best way to hide what you're doing is to convince everyone that your opponent is doing the thing. These groups tend to fracture like right along these lines here. If you were to look at them like an organism, it's like the cell division, except they don't do it to build a larger organism. They usually do it and end up branching off into different organisms. It happens with any group, whether it's this batshit crazy one or a different batshit crazy one or even a normal one. It's funny that a bunch of people who get together for their disdain of another group of people could imagine that in any universe they'll all get along with each other. It's literally why they're hanging out. So I don't understand how they think it's going to be a bonding force. Chaos, in parentheses, double-edged sword. Scenario 1. Donald Trump does not get reelected. The far left takes power, institutes anti-2A confiscation, law enforcement dismantling, individual rights, military is compromised, so they enforce communist socialist agendas nationwide, civil war ensues. Ensues. With an I, because that's how you spell it. No, it's E. Scenario 2. Donald Trump gets reelected. The far left increases its anti-American agenda. Riots become raging shootout in the streets between fascists and patriots. The fight comes to everyone's front door and place of business. Civil war ensues. In either scenario, civil war is a strong possibility. However, who controls the military and government agencies will be key. It is the difference between the Republic of America falling or Socialist America winning. Hashtag KAG. The profound cognitive dissonance involved in the hashtag KAG, which if you don't know means Keep America Great, because it's Donald Trump's slogan, because if nothing else, he's very good at manipulating stupid people. Imagine admitting that even if he gets elected, America won't be kept great. Like, in the same fucking post. Like, at what point do you look around and go, maybe I'm the asshole? You know? Like, what? I can't imagine. And then one of the comments on this said, heard it said today, the Constitution has been suspended. No church, no large gatherings in your homes. The law of the Constitution has been overridden by states, cities. We are in a revolution unless you've buried your head in the sand. Trump is now hidden away to stay safe. We all need to vote in person. Fly the American flag. Time to get our country back. There's so many things here. There's so many elements of like a person who's just divorced from reality. I don't know. It's one of those things that these groups are fracturing, and what I am essentially trying to draw attention to, for one, that these groups exist, along with nutjob throwing pipe bombs at protesters in Portland, the ex-Navy SEAL guy who like has a hard-on for being a cop. That's exactly the types of people that these people are. They're cosplaying as police. They're going armed to deter protests. And as she said in the statement that I read in the beginning, their goal is no BLM protests. They have been tricked for the cause of an election campaign by Donald Trump into thinking that literally all of the protests equal in a 1-to-1 ratio riots and fires and all this shit. They don't understand that places like Portland and Seattle got that way because they were being treated like riots when they were protesting. It's, again, one of those things that I don't understand, how you can watch this play out and think to yourself, I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm going to fight. But you're fighting people who said the same thing. Does that not make any sense to you? I just want people to take a look at it and examine how you think this is going to go, because my opinion is these fractures are going to happen, and what's inevitably going to be the case is the group's going to split. The ones that aren't married to the conspiratorial aspect and aren't actually racist and are just confused, misinformed, scared, looking for a group of like-minded people because things are fucking weird right now, like, I feel you, but they're not the ones, man. If your group is insisting that the entire country is on fire, but also that everybody needs to get back to work, but also that everybody needs to get back to school, but also don't go outside because the socialist mob is going to get you, they're not the ones. But anyway, the other group is going to be the one that's dangerous. It's going to be the group that is the QAnon group. It's going to be the dangerous motherfuckers. And they're only going to force multiply each other. That's my prediction anyway. I don't know. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm going to call this one. And I don't know. It's really just something I feel like most people aren't paying as much attention to as I feel that they should. But I ain't nobody. I ain't shit. I'm just some weird dude with a mustache. Let me know what you think. I could be wrong. And thanks for hanging out.